UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo Castro III and Darlene Basingan.
Good evening. Senator Laila de Lima is no longer the chairman of the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights that holds the hearing on alleged cases of extrajudicial killings and summary executions. Joyce Balancho is at the Senate of the Philippines to tell us why live. Go ahead, Joyce.
Yes, Diego, the Senate has voted today to reorganize the Senate Committee on Justice and Human Rights, with majority of the senators favoring the motion to remove Senator Laila de Lima as the committee chair. 16 senators, who are all members of the majority, voted in favor of the motion of Senator Manny Pacquiao to declare as vacant the chairmanship and membership of the committee headed by Senator Laila de Lima. Her committee heads the investigation on the alleged cases of extrajudicial killings and summary executions happening under the Duterte administration. Senator Pacquiao's move preceded the privileged speech of Senator Alan Peter Cayetano at the plenary session earlier. In his speech, Cayetano called on the Senate to act on the bad image of the president and the country in the international community following the series of committee hearings on the spate of killings related to drugs. Meanwhile, 3 members of the minority, namely Senator Ralph Recto, Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, and Senator Francis Escudero, abstained in the voting, while Senator Bam Aquino, Senator Risa Hontiveros, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, and Senator Franklin Drilon negated the motion. Senator Richard Gordon then is chosen to chair the committee, with Senator Panfilo Lacson as the vice chair and Senator Laila de Lima, Senator Alan Cayetano, Senator Miguel Zubiri, Grace Poe, and Kiko Pangilinan as the members. For his part, Senate President Aquilino Pimentel III, who also voted to remove the chairmanship from de Lima, said the organization will ensure the committee's partiality in handling the investigation. He said de Lima's objectivity is in question, as she and the president have been throwing allegations against each other recently. He also clarified that the organization went through the proper procedure and was devoid of any political color or influence from the Malacanang. Though Senator Laila de Lima has expressed great dismay over the decision of the Senate, she says this is not something unexpected. She alleges that this is all part of the plan to discredit her as the committee chair and to stop their ongoing investigation. Meanwhile, Diego, Majority Floor Leader Senator Tito Soto assures that despite the reorganization, the committee will still continue with its investigation on the alleged cases of extrajudicial killings and summary executions happening under the Duterte administration. Diego?
Thank you, Joyce Balancho, reporting live from the Senate of the Philippines. House Committee on Justice says they will not single out Senator Laila de Lima in tomorrow's investigation, but they will identify government officials who neglected their duties. Grace Casin will tell us why.
The House Committee on Justice is set to start the investigation on the alleged proliferation and operation of illegal drugs inside the New Bilibid prison. House Committee on Dangerous Drugs Chairman Robert Ace Barbers assures to uncover many issues tomorrow with the testimonies of the DOJ's witnesses.
We do expect that there will be revelations and exposés that will be discussed tomorrow in the hearing.
The committee says it will not cover its hearing on Senator Laila de Lima and avows a fair investigation. House Deputy Speaker Ferdinand Fernandez says the hearing aims to identify government officials who neglected their duties and make use that gathered information will truly be in aid of legislation. Among those to be tried are officials of the Bureau of Corrections, National Bureau of Investigation, and the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency.
We will make sure that it's fair, impartial, and based on facts, not based on other issues not related to National Bilibid Prison.
Still, it is not certain that all witnesses will be given the chance to speak due to the limited time.
Hindi naman natin matatawag lahat. We might as well just focus on the points that we would like to establish tomorrow.
For her part, Senator Laila de Lima has no plans of attending the probe, nor she will send an emissary because she says she is not recognizing the hearing of the lower house.
Kaya nga po nila ito ginagawa sa akin dahil naging balakid ako dyan sa ginagawa na yan, itong mga killings na ito, dyan sa pagpupursigi ko ng investigasyon.
Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre claims the testimonies of their witnesses are sufficient enough to file charges against persons implicated in illegal drugs trade inside the new Bilibid prisons. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The Department of Justice is presenting about 30 witnesses tomorrow as the lower house of Congress begins its inquiry on illegal drugs trade inside the new Bilibid prison. According to Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre, the witnesses will expose how this happened and who are involved, who has negligence, and who consented to it. He says the testimonies of witnesses alone are sufficient to file graft and illegal drugs charges against the persons involved in drugs trade inside the prison.
Incidental po yung pag-implicate kanino man kay Secretary de Lima, kung sino mang mga tao na involved dito sa paglaganap at drug trade sa loob ng ating mga prisons. Base lamang dun sa mga affidavit, pwede nang mag-file ng complaint, and this could undergo a preliminary investigation.
One of the witnesses is convicted drug dealer Herbert Polanco, who claims that former Justice Secretary and now Senator Laila de Lima received drug money from him worth 3 million pesos each month. NBI Deputy Director Rafael Ragos, who is known to be close to the former secretary, will also testify in the House inquiry.
Magte-testify siya na dun sa several instances na mag-deliver siya ng 5 million pesos sa bahay ni Secretary de Lima. 5 million pesos ay mismong si Secretary de Lima ang naka-receive nitong 5 million pesos na ito. At may kasama po yan, another NBA agent. Kaya dalawa po silang titistigo dito. Ang papatunay na Secretary de Lima ay dinala nila ng 5 million in one delivery, 2 deliveries.
Asked what exactly de Lima's involvement in drugs inside Bilibid was, Aguirre has this to say.
Well, kung hindi siya direct participant, sobrang gross negligence or pinabayaan niya. Kayo na makinig. We invite you, ni-invite kayong lahat bukas. Kayo na mag-conclude sa inyong sarili.
Aguirre says some of the witnesses will be given immunity and others will be admitted to the government's witness protection program. De Lima again denied receiving money from the drug lords. She claims she knows a lot on what was happening inside Bilibid, but it's not yet the proper time to speak about it.
Unless si Secretary Aguirre ang magte-testify, mukhang siya na yung nagte-testify eh. Siya na yung parang witness, di ba? Ang dami na niyang mga kinikwento, ang dami na niyang sinasabi. Hindi na muna po ako pwedeng mag-comment dyan.
Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
President Rodrigo Duterte and the Commission on Human Rights may have agreed on one thing with regard to the campaign against criminality and illegal drugs. Grace Casin will tell us why.
It was not after he assumed the top post in the land that President Rodrigo Duterte saw how vast the drug problem is in the Philippines.
I didn't have that idea that there was hundreds of thousands of people already in the drug business. And what makes it worse is that they are operated now by people in government, especially those elected positions. So it will be government versus government.
This prompted the president to ask more time to be able to accomplish his campaign promise to suppress or end criminality and illegal drugs. Last night, the chief executive says he needs another 6 months on the top of the administration's self-imposed deadline of 3 to 6 months to eradicate these problems at hand. Also, the president is set to divulge the names of officials included in the second narco list, but he hinted that in it are several barangay officials.
This new list was there before me about 2 months ago, but I ordered a revalidation just to make sure. I told the police to be very careful, set it up, do a clean job, get the witnesses to be there, including the media when you arrest, so that you'll have a good story and we can prosecute.
Meanwhile, the Commission, on the other hand, also believes that the objectives of law enforcement and the suppression of crime cannot be achieved in a short period of time. The Commission also says the cooperation of community is needed for the campaign to succeed. But the CHR stresses that they will monitor and continue to appeal to the government to respect human rights, due process, and the rule of law in conducting operations against illegal drugs. This after the President appeal for the extension to their timeline. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government is determined to replace all barangay officials involved in the illegal drug trade, especially if the barangay post is formally postponed. Jun Surya will tell us why.
We are preparing for that. Actually, we are now asking our people, especially ang PNP, to submit to us kung sino yung mga barangay captains na may relasyon sa droga.
Department of the Interior and Local Government Secretary Ismael Sueño says they are now waiting for the directive of President Rodrigo Duterte to formally relieve all barangay officials who are involved in illegal drug operations and corrupt practices. Sueño says they have asked the Philippine National Police to submit the names of implicated officials in preparation for the possible replacement.
In just a few days or a few weeks, baka we will receive these reports from the field, no? Na para may listahan kami ng mga barangay captains na involved sa droga. At saka not only involved sa droga, but mga corrupt.
Such officials who have unscrupulous record would be replaced, especially if the village post would be cancelled. Though at least 20.51% of 42,065 barangays in the entire country is affected by illegal drugs, Secretary Sueno believes there are still remaining honest barangay officials. That is why they will still wait for the PNP's list. Meanwhile, DILG also confirms that the governors from various provinces are looking for ways to rehabilitate surrendered drug users. This is through community interventions just like outreach rehab, counseling, and meditation with the help of LGUs, churches, and other experts. Jun Suriao, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Health struggles to monitor the health conditions of drug surrenderies in congested rehabilitation centers. Marge Navarro will tell us why.
Dahil kahit gaano kahirap dito, pagkatapos ng ilang buwan, makakalabas kayo na sabihin niyo sa sarili niyo na I'm finished, I'm clean, it's consummated. Tapos na yung paghihirap ko dito kasi alam ko na yung tama, alam ko na yung pagkakamali ko.
Freddy Boy is thankful to the government's rehabilitation program despite the limited space in Manila's largest rehabilitation center in Bicutan. He has been at the center for nearly 6 months. At present, the center has admitted over 1,500 drug users, despite its maximum capacity of 1,000. President Rodrigo Duterte's war on drugs has seen a surge of drug users surrendering to authorities, stoking concerns that there aren't enough rehabilitation centers available to cope with the increasing demand.
Before the anti-drug campaign started, we used to have 7 or 8 admissions a day. When the campaign began, we were admitting between 15 to 30 patients a day. So there was an increase of almost double the capacity.
Health workers say many of the drug users have had to sleep on the floor, and they are trying to make do with the limited resources and ensure proper treatment for all the patients. The Department of Health said they cannot do much to improve the facilities due to limited budget allocation in 2016, but proposed a short-term plan to allow local government to deal with vast majority who has milder cases.
But what we're trying to do is to develop a community-based program where majority, we believe, will be qualified to be part. Kasi yung sila yung mga experimental users, these are the patients who are not in the advanced stage of drug dependence.
DOH has proposed a budget 5 times higher than 2016 to build new rehabilitation facilities, train health workers, and employ more medical professionals to address the issue. Marge Navarro, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Consumers in some areas in Metro Manila are experiencing moderate to heavy flow of vehicles. The flow of vehicles is light to moderate on both lanes of Baclaran. These are the roads going to Manila and Coastal Road. In Sukat Road, Parañaque, the traffic is moderate on both lanes. In Letre Malabon, there is slight traffic on both lanes. These are the lanes going to Navotas and Monumento. Expect moderate to heavy traffic on many parts of EDSA. This is particularly true on both lanes of Guadalupe. In Blumentritt, España, the flow of vehicles is moderate on the lane going to UST as well as on the opposite lane that's going to Pasay Rotonda. In Quezon City, expect heavy flow of vehicles on the lane going to or from Philcoa going to Fairview. While expect a light traffic on the lane from Tandansora going to Philcoa.
Next in Y News. The Armed Forces of the Philippines believes that intensive military operations versus the Abu Sayyaf group resulted in consecutive releases of kidnapped victims.
The Senate moves to fast-track the passage of the Freedom of Information Bill.
Y News will be right back. The Armed Forces of the Philippines believes that the successive releases of the kidnapped victims of Abu Sayyaf group is a result of the intensive military operations against the bandit group in Sulu. Brian De Paz will tell us why.
The sustained military operations have put the Abu Sayyaf group under pressure. This is according to the Armed Forces of the Philippines. And because of the continued operations, they result to the consecutive releases of the kidnapped victims these past few days. On September 18, 2016 at 10:30 p.m., kidnapped victims Daniela Taruk and Levi Gonzalez were released by their ASG captors at Barangay Tiptipon, Panglima, Estino, Sulu.
Ang ating pong saludo sa ating mga tropa dito dahil ang aming paniniwala ay malaki po ang naging pakinabang ng ating inilunsad na military operation sa lugar o sa isla ng Hulo.
Recovered by a concerned citizen, the released kidnapped victims were subcontractors of a telecom company and employees of Power City Corporation who were kidnapped by undetermined armed men in Barangay Timpook, Patikul, Sulu on August 6, 2016. The released victims were brought to the headquarters of the Joint Task Force Sulu to undergo medical checkup prior to being turned over to the government's custody.
Hindi na po nakikipagsagupaan ng Abu Sayyaf. Ayaw na pong makipagbanggaan sa ating tropa dahil alam po nila na seryoso po tayo sa ginagawa natin. So their world is getting smaller and it will be soon before we will be able to solve this.
The release is the result of the continuous effort of the Joint Task Force Sulu led by Brigadier General Arnel de la Vega in its unrelenting focused military operations in collaboration with police counterparts to destroy the ASG in the province. Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Aguinaldo.
Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre announces a possible lifting of the arrest order against Moro National Liberation Front founding chairman Nur Miswari in connection with his role in the 2013 Zamboanga city siege. Aguirre says this is part of the government's effort to pursue peace negotiations with the Moro rebels, and he already talked to Presidential Advisor on the peace process, Jesus Doresa, about it. Miswari and his key commanders were charged with rebellion and war crimes for the bloody attack. President Rodrigo Duterte earlier called on the military and police not to arrest Miswari so as not to compromise his efforts to forge peace with Miswari's group.
That is part of the peace talk. Totoo yan. As a matter of fact, we are very cooperative in that. And gusto namin talagang mabuo o matuloy na yung peace agreement natin.
The local government of Zamboanga City remains firm in its decision to decline the plea bargaining deal being requested by the accused in a bloody siege of Zamboanga City 3 years ago. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
In September 2013, hundreds of armed members of the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, tried to take hold of Zamboanga City. The 19-day standoff between the military and MNLF fighters left dozens of people dead and more than 1,000 displaced. Over 100 of those accused of taking part in the bloody siege are still detained at the Pasig detention facility. They are believed to be supporters of MNLF founding chairman Nur Miswari. Tomorrow, the Pasig Regional Trial Court is set to conduct another pre-trial in connection with the bloody siege of Zamboanga City. City Legal Officer Attorney Jesus Carbon says the discussions in the pre-trial will include the plea bargaining proposal previously submitted by the camp of the involved MNLF fighters.
What is pending before the court is that the Department of Justice was asked to submit an amended plea bargaining agreement with respect to the first two batches of MNLF accused, totaling 138.
The accused seek to lower their case from rebellion and violation of international humanitarian law to sedition. Rebellion is punishable by lifetime imprisonment, while sedition is punishable by imprisonment of not lower than 6 years. This, Attorney Carbon says, the local government of Zamboanga City won't accept.
But we are doing our best to prevent plea bargaining. That is the stand of the City Council and the Chief Executive, backed up by 3 resolutions of the City Council, all objecting to plea bargaining.
He says the accused must be held accountable for the damage they caused to the residents of Zamboanga City when the MNLF tried to take over Zamboanga City Hall 3 years ago. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
PNP Chief Director General Ronald De La Rosa leaves for Bogota, Colombia today to attend the 5-day Counter-Terrorism and Counter-Narcotics Exchange Conference. The conference, which will run from September 19 to 23, was organized by the U.S. Department of State. The meeting is expected to tackle regional issues and concerns emerging from terrorist threats, including narco-terrorism and transnational drug trafficking. De La Rosa heads a 3-man delegation composed of Police Director Fernando Mendez Jr., PNP Director for Personnel and Records Management, and Senior Superintendent Alden Delvo, Senior Executive Assistant.
Vice President Leni Robredo wants to fast-track the shelter assistance for typhoon victims in Batanes. Nel Maribuhok is at Makati City to tell us why, live. Yes, Nel.
Darlene, Vice President Leni Robredo visits typhoon-stricken areas in Batanes this morning. Robredo reports that Itbayat Island is the hardest hit area in Batanes and many houses were destroyed by Typhoon Ferdy. Based on her initial report, there are 510 totally damaged houses, 400 are heavily damaged, and 1,545 are partially damaged. The Vice President wants to fast-track the shelter assistance in Batanes.
Kasi nakakatagal talaga documentation. Ayun yung that is one of the things that I want to discuss with the key shelter agencies. Kasi halimbawa ako, nakita ko mismo. Kasi yung sabi sa amin, halimbawa sabi ng DSWD nandun, sabi ng ibang agencies na nandun, na before ma-process yung lahat, kailangan ng mga case study report, etc. Parang ako tumulong din ako na matagal sa lokal Kailangan nila ng tulong ngayon eh.
VP Robredo says one of the major requests of Batanes is a Navy boat that will bring needed construction materials in the area. The Vice President, as chairman of the Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council, immediately called for an emergency meeting this evening with National Housing Authority and other concerned agencies for the immediate assistance in Batanes. Darlene?
Thank you, Nel. And that's Nel Maribuhok reporting live from Makati City. The Senate starts working on expediting the passage of the long-stalled Freedom of Information Bill. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
Members of the Senate Committee on Public Information and Mass Media hope that the Freedom of Information Bill will reach the third reading before the end of the year.
Hopefully, ngayong 17th Congress na talagang change will come.
The passing of an FOI will result in a deepening of our democracy. It's ironic we are the longest running democracy in the region, and yet many of our regular people or ordinary folk do not understand the workings of our government.
FOI will not only prevent grafted corruption, as what our chairperson has said, but most importantly, it will help the people get involved and participate in running the affairs of the government.
The senators have expressed appreciation to President Rodrigo Duterte's issuance of Executive Order No. 2, which aims to provide constitutional rights for the public to access public information and state policies. Its enactment would give further weight to its implementation despite the 166 exemptions indicated in it.
Bagamat nagpapasalamat tayo, yung executive order, hindi kasama doon ang Kongreso, hindi kasama ang judiciary, at maraming mga iba't iba pang mga ahensya. Kaya nga, kailangan din pag-aralan mabuti itong mga exemptions na ito kasi we might have to make specific mentions of it in the new law so that it will override the executive order.
Senator Poe also assures that the exemptions will not be abused and exploited to cover wrongdoings in the government.
I think that the important provision here is ang freedom of information exceptions cannot be used to cover a wrongdoing. Yun yung palagi namin sinasabi. Kung ang dahilan ay para pagtakpan ng isang mali, hindi pwedeng i-invoke ang freedom of information.
The Senate's first public hearing on the long-stalled Freedom of Information Bill has begun today with the attendance of a number of media groups such as the KBP, National Press Club, and the Philippine Press Institute, as well as FOI advocate and former House Deputy Speaker Erin Tanyada. FOI has long been stalled since its first submission by former Senator Raul Roco in 1988. Meanwhile, the next Senate hearing is set on September 29. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
More than 1,000 Bulakeños went home happy and grateful on UNTV and member Church of God International or NCGI's free medical mission. June Soria will tell us why.
Jaime Paglia is a visually impaired resident of San Jose del Monte City in Bulacan. He has been seeking for a chance to have medical checkup for some health issues he has been experiencing. That is why when he heard about UNTV's Serbisyong Kasangbahays medical mission activity in their city, he took the opportunity to avail of the free medical services the group has brought to them, in cooperation with the Members Church of God International or MCGI.
Naisip ako magpa-check up, magpa-x-ray ako, nakita may pneumonia ako at lumalaki yung puso ko. Salamat po.
Even couple Merly and Melvin Montes with their 5 children who have all come down with fever and cough went home with free medicines and smiles on their faces.
Pumunta po kami dito para magpagamot, para libre po sa gamot. Inubo po sila, walang mga ganang kumain, tsaka sinisipon. Nilalagnat rin po paggabi. Brad Eli po, Soriano, Kuya Daniel, salamat po sa mga gamot na binigay niyo po sa amin.
The number of beneficiaries of free medical, optical, pedia, dental services, X-ray, as well as legal services have reached over 1,500 residents in the said activity. City Vice Mayor Efren J.R. Bartolome is extremely thankful for the tireless help of UNTV and Members Church of God International to the San Joseños.
Lubos ang aking pasasalamat sa Kamanggagawa Foundation, ang dating daan na lagi na lang pong nakakasama natin sa pagbibigay ng serbisyo publiko sa ating mga kababayan sa Nuseño. Kaya Kuya Daniel Rason, kaya Brother Eli Soriano, sa wala pong sawang pagsuporta sa mga ganito pong mga programa.
Based on data, San Jose del Monte is the most populated city in the province of Bulacan with over 600,000 residents, most of them in the poverty line. Jun Suriao for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Coming up, the Australian government plans to scrap baby bonuses to repair the country's budget deficits.
And PNP responders claims its first win of the season, while the DOJ Justice Booster suffers its second loss in the UNTV Cup Season 5.
More from Y News after this break. The southwest monsoon is affecting the western section of the country. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAGASA says Metro Manila, Ilocos Region, CAR, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Mindoro, Palawan and the Western Visayas will experience light to moderate rains. The rest of the country will have partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms. No tropical cyclone is expected to affect the country within 2 days. The Three Gorges Reservoir opens its ship lift in China's Hubei province, while Taiwanese patrol guards patrol to keep residents from water. Dulce Alarcon will tell us why.
In Taiwan, Typhoon Malakas disrupted air and ground transport as it brushed Taiwan's east coast, causing cancellation or delay of flights and train services. Waves rolled onto the beach in Ilan County, where Coast Guards were patrolling and keeping residents from going too close to the water. According to Taiwan's Central Weather Bureau, Typhoon Malakas kept moving north at a speed of 15 kilometers per hour and is expected to make landfall in Japan in the coming days. So far, there had been no reports of major damage. And in China, heavy rainfalls have triggered multiple mudslides in mountainous county in southwest China's Yunnan province, leaving one unaccounted for and 7 others injured as of late Sunday. The mudslide has affected 257 village clusters in 10 townships and ruined 72 civilian dwellings, apart from the damaged sections of railway and highway facilities.
现在呢，这个我们相应的工程队伍，还有我们武警水电部队，都相应的专家和技术人员以及机械都已经进场，正在对这2个堰塞湖呢进行这个疏通。主要是通过现在是开挖这个明槽引水渠来疏通这个堰塞湖。
Meanwhile, the Three Gorges Reservoir in Hubei province opened its ship lift Sunday. The ship lift, as one of the permanent shipping facilities on the Yangtze River, can provide fast pass for cargo, passenger and special ships. Ships allowed to take the lift can reduce the duration of passing over the dam from over 3 hours to 40 minutes. It is estimated that the ship lift will increase passing capacity up to 6 million tons, making the Yangtze River as an important shipping channel. Dulce Alarcon, UNTV News and Rescue, Jilin, China.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio says the police are beefing up security at bus terminals, airports, and on subways in the city for the UN General Assembly. This comes after the explosion that injured 29 disturbed New York City on Saturday evening. New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo says the state will be deploying an additional 1,000 state troopers and members of the National Guard throughout New York City. The suspects and their motives remain unknown, and investigations are still in the early stages. Meanwhile, in a statement, Presidential Communications Office Secretary Martin Andanar advises Filipinos in New York City to stay calm and vigilant. Australian PM Malcolm Turnbull has started repairing the country's budget deficit, which will impact the benefits of birthing mothers. Nina Bascon tells us why.
Leader Bill Shorten to work on an amendment to the Omnibus Bill in order to limit the government spending. This will save the government about 6.3 billion Australian dollars. One of the casualties is the proposed baby bonus to new parents amounting to $1,000 each child. Newborn upfront payment currently is a lump sum of $532 tax-free. It is paid for each child that comes into the care of a permanent resident or an Australian citizen couple or family. The amount of newborn upfront payment and newborn supplement depends on the family's income and how many children in the family.
Ang baby bonus, malaking tulong yan. Siyempre sa mga pangangailangan ng bata, unang-una yan. Pero kung sa ikagaganda naman ng bansang Australia para sa ikabubuti later on, papayag na rin ako.
Noong pong time na pinanganak ko po yung second child namin na si Mariel, naka-receive po ako ng $5,000 support from the government. Nung tinanggal nila ito, nakakalungkot syempre dahil napakalaking tulong nito sa mga bagong panganak na nanay.
The intention of baby bonus is also to increase birth and infant survival rates in the country. That is why back in 2012, baby bonus scheme reached its peak to $5,432 per child, and then slowly been reduced as the budget for government spending became tighter. Furthermore, the government said fundings this year will focus on infrastructures like road, rail, and airports.
Baby bonus to new parents is one of Australia's signature policies. It takes into a lot of consideration the government spending to sustain the 25 years of no recession in Australia. Nina Bascon, UNTV News and Rescue, Melbourne, Australia.
After years of research, China successfully installs a giant telescope. Gerry will tell us why.
China creates a unique positioning device for the world's largest radio telescope called the Fast Feed Cabin. Through a 4-year scientific research, it has also built the world's first flexible optical cables. The installation of the feed cabin of China's single-aperture spherical telescope means that the giant telescope is ready to do what it does. The chief of the feed cabin system, Chu Wenpai, says the newly created equipment is the most vital part for faster receiving and sending of signals.
光纤就是玻璃丝，玻璃丝是个很脆的一个东西。那这就对我们来说呢，就是马上就抛下一个挑战。如果没有这个光缆的话，这个 FAST 的望远镜就相当于视神经就没有，视神经是断的。
Wenpai says selection of the optical fiber is quite a difficult problem for scientists.
更精确的定位这个馈源呢，就是我们还有一个6感的这个并联机器人，它就能够比较快速的响应，所以进一步的能够把这个定位误差呢，就压缩到这个10个毫米。
Chief of the feed cabin system added that the cabin is home to a feed source which gathers signal from the universe. Gerry, UNTV News and Rescue, Shanghai, China.
A breach pipe halts operations at a mine in Argentina. Meanwhile, a sinkhole in Florida leaks radioactive water. Ruby de Guzman tells us why.
Barrick Gold Corp ABXDL says that the operations at its Veladero mine in Argentina were temporarily suspended by the government after a small quantity of processing solution that contains cyanide leaked outside a processing area. The solution flowed over a berm surrounding the leach pad where gold is processed after a pipe was damaged on September 8 by a large block of ice that rolled down a valley slope.
Que se constituya inmediatamente en el lugar el ministro de Minería con técnicos y profesionales de la repartición a fin de evaluar la magnitud y la real situación en forma preventiva, detener totalmente la actividad de la mina Veladero hasta tanto se determine que no existe riesgo alguno. Y en tercer lugar, exigir a la empresa Barrick Gold la intangibilidad laboral y salarial de sus trabajadores aún en el periodo determinado por la detención.
The incident poses no threat to the health of workers, communities, or the environment. Meanwhile, a sinkhole spanning 45 feet or 13.7 meters in diameter opened at the Mosaic Company phosphate fertilizer facility in Florida, leaking 215 million gallons of slightly radioactive water. Specific environmental and health concerns are the release of uranium, radium, and radon gas, said the Florida director of the Center for Biological Diversity, Jackie Lopez. She said once contaminants reach the aquifer, which extends from central Florida to Georgia, they can potentially travel hundreds of miles. The sinkhole, located about 30 miles from Tampa, damaged the liner system at the base of the stack, causing the pond on top to drain. The leaked water is enough to fill more than 300 Olympic swimming pools. Robbie De Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
South Korea says there's no trace of contamination from North's nuclear tests. Eric Ferrer will tell us why.
South Korea has yet to find any traces of radioactive materials from the North's latest nuclear test. This confirms that the country remains safe from nuclear fallout. The Nuclear Safety and Security Commission has been testing samples every 12 hours since September 12, 2 days after the Communist North said it successfully conducted its latest nuclear detonation test. The Commission added, South Korea's background radiation last September 15 at 9 a.m. remains at the usual level of 50 to 300 nanosieverts per hour, apparently unaffected by the North's nuclear test. It can be recalled that in January, the Japanese government announced that it had detected no radiation changes at its ground monitoring post and from surveillance military aircrafts following the test in North Korea's North Hamgyong province and about 900 kilometers from Japanese soil.
これまで実施されている地下の核実験の場合には大気中に放射性物質が放出されるということは基本想定をされていないということでございますので、まずそういった核物質がこの実験によって日本に到達するということは想定をしていないところでございます。
However, he said that the NRA would tighten up its radiation monitoring.
ただ、その到達をしないというようなことをきちっと確認をしていくというために空間の放射線量率また大気の放射性物質のモニタリングの強化をして頻度を高く確認をしていくということを続けてまいりたいと考えておるところです。
South Koreans can still say that the country is not at risk of radiation from the nuclear tests of North Korea. Eric Ferrer, UNTV News and Rescue, South Korea.
As the Rio Paralympic Games come to a close, Russia starts to prepare for the 2018 World Cup. Aaron Romero will tell us why.
Sochi, the southern city of Russia, unveils a World Cup clock as it counts down to the official commencement of the championship that will take place between June 14 and July 15 at 12 different Russian stadiums. The digital clock was installed in a stand decked out in the World Cup 2018 colors, which also served as a Wi-Fi hotspot. Spectators can't help but take selfies at the countdown clock.
Очень приятно, что такое грандиозное событие, как чемпионат мира, пройдет в России и в Сочи, естественно. Я думаю, это даст огромный толчок для нашего футбола, для инфраструктуры как городов, так и всей России. И на самом деле, я думаю, наш футбол поднимется на еще более высокий уровень, и мы все-таки будем гордиться нашей сборной, которая будет выигрывать медали на Олимпийских хотя бы играх или на чемпионате мира. Поэтому будем за них болеть и будем ждать это событие и будем к нему хорошо готовиться.
Meanwhile, as the Rio Paralympic Games concludes, Iran beat Brazil 3-0 in the men's sitting volleyball semifinals to set up a showdown with Bosnia and Herzegovina, who defeated Egypt 3-0. The Paralympics' tallest ever competitor, 2.46-meter Morteza Mirzadzelakjani, played a prominent role for the Iranians. Britain took gold, silver, and bronze in the women's individual W1 archery final through Jessica Stratton, Jo Frith, and Vicky Jenkins, respectively. In the athletic stadium, Heinrich Popo of Germany won gold in the long jump T42 final with a leap of 6.70 meters. Australia won gold in the two-person keelboat race 11 thanks to Daniel Fitzgibbon and Lisel Tesh, while Damien Seguin of France won the one-person keelboat race 11 final. Back in the athletics arena, Tatiana McFadden of USA won the women's 800 meters T54 final in a time of 1 minute 44.73 seconds, with China's Liu Wenjun second and Li Yingji third. Finishing fourth overall, the United States brings home a total of 115 medals, which includes 40 golds, 44 silvers, and 31 bronzes. Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
The PNP responders, BFP firefighters, and judiciary mages emerged as victors in Sunday's games at the UNTV Cup Season 5. Bernard Dadis will tell us why.
UNTV Cup supporters and spectators headed to the University of Makati Gymnasium yesterday to witness yet again thrilling performance of their favorite basketball league of public servants.
Sends it to the middle. Abayan jolted and got the basket.
In Game 1, the PNP responders has once again proven their prowess on the hard court after defeating the DOJ Justice Boosters who have tasted their second loss in the season. The policemen utilized their skills plus smart play to emerge as victors in their first game this season. In Game 2,
Nice scoop shot!
the VFA firefighters extinguished the heat and speed of the MMDA Black Wolves, finishing the match with a final score 83-73. The firefighters used their additional weaponry composed of former PBA players Anthony Emmanuel Lim, a brother of PBA legend Samboy Lim, and Gilbert Malabanan to topple over the Black Wolves.
To the side, Don Camaso. Yes, sir. 3 good. Leak out si Ariel Capos. Tatapusin ba?
And in Game 3, two-time champion Judiciary Magish showcased their desire to return to the finals after overruling the game plan of the last season's most improved team, the NHA Builders, finishing up with 76-63. Not losing heart after failing to reach the final round last season, the Magish will surely show what they are made of with their power lineup, which now includes Chester Tolomia, its newest member, another former PBA Cub.
Nagtrabaho lang talaga yung mga players. Talagang gustong manalo sa first game. Sana magtuloy-tuloy na to.
Bernard Dadis for UNTV Cup Season 5.
Child singer Francis Lim is elated on the turnout of the weekly winner in the A Song of Praise or ASOP Music Festival last Sunday. Roby De Guzman tells us why.
Isang Bata Man!
A Song of Praise or ASOP Music Festival hails Isang Bata Man as its third song of the week for the month of September. Sunday night's episode, it was the second time that the child-inspired original praise song composition was performed on ASOP stage, this time in the Producer's Pick episode. This song is interpreted by The Voice Kid Season 2 contender Francis Lim.
Sobrang saya po at nagpapasalamat po kay Ate Christine dahil po sobrang ganda po ng ginawa niyang kanta.
Christine Hernandez, the composer of Isang Bata Man, was inspired by her daughter.
Naging inspiration ko po talaga yung anak ko po. Tapos naisip ko po na bakit po hindi bata yung gamitin ko kasi hindi lang naman po matatanda yung pwedeng magpuri kay Lord. Pwede rin naman po yung bata.
Some Sunday's panel of judges was composed of record executive Ito Rapadas, multi-awarded songwriter Tina Bellamide, and Dr. Musico Mon Del Rosario. The song bested Ligaya sa Piling Niya, composed by Juvic Ann Capistrano, as of Year 2 Grand Finalist, and was sung by Videoke World Philippine Champion Ruby Villano, and the song entry of another ASOP Year 2 finalist Wilfredo Zabala, entitled Salamat sa Diyos, interpreted by singing champion Rodante Boton. Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Photographers and videographers can now purchase the latest top-of-the-line camera of Fujifilm nationwide. Brian Evangelista will tell us why.
And also, one of the important points for Fujifilm is close communication with the customer. So in terms of a new product development, we're always listening to the customer's voice. And for this new product, this is a result of the listening to the customer's voice.
Fujifilm has released its most modern and most advanced mirrorless camera, the X-T2. It is the latest lightweight and easy-to-use camera from Japan's pioneer of photographic film. The X-T2 can capture very natural and detailed photos even in dark surroundings because of its high ISO that reaches up to 12,800.
This is a 24 megapixel. I think this is a maximum megapixel based on an APS-C size sensor. And the second is frame per second. With this booster, we can provide 11 frames per second. This is one of the fastest. And also, last one is 4K video quality.
The top-of-the-line camera from Fujifilm is available at all Camerahaus outlets nationwide. For aspiring photographers, you can also visit Camerahaus every Thursday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. for a free workshop seminar where you can learn how to take pictures like a pro.
Our passion is serving the customer because we love customers. We like to help them choose the camera that best suit their needs, including budget. So we are offering 24 months, 0%. So it's easy to pay.
Brian Evangelista, UNTV News and Rescue, Taguig City.
Those are the reasons behind the news, September 19, 2016. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I am Darlene Basingan.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.